Today we're in one of Chicago's coolest neighborhoods. It was once an enclave for the wealthiest brewers in the city, but later became the first enclave for Chicago hipsters. It's named after a pair of brothers and is directly linked to downtown Chicago via L train. This neighborhood also has some of the best shopping and dining in the Windy City. That's right, we're in Wicker Park, Chicago. In this video, we'll be exploring Wicker Park's treasures, from invaluable public transportation to historic buildings adapted for modern use. We'll also answer some questions like, how did Wicker Park get its name? What do you do with office buildings and banks once they can no longer serve their original purpose? And is this Chicago's coolest neighborhood? What is good, YouTube? I'm Louis Gusto. Welcome back to Chicago. Make sure you finesse that like button and subscribe to the page for more content just like this. Before we get started, I have a trivia question for you. In the 2000s, one of the most famous reality shows of all time filmed the season right here in Wicker Park. What reality show was that? Now, with that all out the way, let's explore Wicker Park, Chicago. In general, the borders of Chicago neighborhoods are not an exact science, but Wicker Park is precisely bounded on the west by Western Avenue, on the east by Ashland, on the north by Bloomingdale, and on the south by Division Street. Wicker Park is officially part of the Westtown community area, located about 3 miles from downtown Chicago. Nearby neighborhoods include Bucktown and Noble Square. To get to Wicker Park, take the CTA Blue Line and get off at the Damon Stop, one of the most historically significant and beautiful CTA L train stations. You can also get off at Division. Other options to get to this neighborhood include biking, walking, or skateboarding down the 606 trail. Buses that serve Wicker Park include the 56, 72, 49, 50, 9, and 70. You can't begin any story about a Chicago neighborhood without first acknowledging that there were Native Americans here before. Perhaps the most significant contribution they made to Wicker Park was forging a trail that became today's Milwaukee Avenue. And yes, it does lead all the way till Milwaukee. This neighborhood became officially part of the city in 3 stages. In 1837, when Chicago was first incorporated, the northern boundary of the city was North Avenue. Very creative, I know. With the first extension of the city a decade later, the western boundary of the city became Western Avenue. Very creative, I know. The second expansion of the city moved that northern boundary to Fullerton, but only as far west as the Chicago River. It actually wasn't until the third extension of city boundaries that all of Wicker Park was brought into Chicago. Brothers Joel and Charles Wicker moved to Chicago from the East Coast in 1839, and by 1870 they were developing some of the land in the neighborhood, much of it along Milwaukee Avenue. They also laid out a 4-acre triangular green space to be used by the city as a public park. This green space became Wicker Park, which later became the name of the entire neighborhood. On the surrounding lots, some of the most beautiful homes in all of Chicago would be built. Today, this is the Wicker Park Landmark District, which also contains Beer Baron Row, the name due to the fact that Chicago's most successful brewers lived in these lavish mansions. The Wicker Park neighborhood was directly linked to downtown Chicago via the Metropolitan West Side Elevated Railroad in the 1890s. But let's rewind slightly. How did this neighborhood become the home of so many wealthy Northern European immigrants? The answer to that question is one that we've heard countless times: the Great Fire of 1871. This disaster pushed many Chicagoans who had been living in the central area of the city out into the surrounding neighborhoods. Until around the 1930s, Wicker Park was an enclave for wealthy Germans and Scandinavians. It's hard to fathom now, but back in those days, European immigrants and Americans didn't exactly get along. Beginning in the 1930s, working class Poles moved into Wicker Park as their wealthy Euro brethren moved out. New nicknames for the neighborhood included Old Polonia and the Polish Gold Coast. You can definitely still spot some of the Polish influence on Wicker Park today. Then, as the 1950s and 60s rolled along, displaced Puerto Ricans from Lincoln Park and the near north side began calling Wicker Park home. What was once a successful, thriving neighborhood became downtrodden in the 1970s and 80s. By the 90s and 2000s, though, things started to change a little bit, and today Wicker Park has come full circle as it's once again an enclave for the well-to-do. However, in 2025, there is now more diversity in this neighborhood than ever, perhaps symbolizing the city of Chicago as a whole. The architecture of Wicker Park is some of the most outstanding in all of Chicago. Objectively speaking, the architecture of the neighborhood played a huge role in the resurgence of the neighborhood in the late 20th century. Unlike other historic areas like the Loop, Wicker Park doesn't have many individual landmarks, but rather a couple of significant landmark districts. First, we're going to talk about an individual landmark, the Home Bank and Trust Company building. Today, we're used to corporate banks, but back in the day, cities like Chicago had lots of neighborhood banks that would give financial assistance to the people of the community. Wild concept, I know. This is a classical revival building constructed in 1926, designed by Carl M. Witztham and Company. For a while, it was home to a CVS pharmacy, then a software company, and a New American restaurant. But today, I honestly have no clue. Let me know in the comments below. Moving over to the Wicker Park district, we have some of the most beautiful homes abutting the green space that gives the neighborhood its name. The Milwaukee Avenue Historic District showcases Wicker Park's history as an economic engine within the city of Chicago. Buildings here are designed in various styles and preserved to varying degrees. Let's look at a couple of my favorites. The former Noel State Bank building was constructed in 1919. It's another fine example of a neighborhood bank. It's arguably the most famous landmark in Wicker Park. After no longer serving its original purpose, the building has struggled to keep tenants. For a while, it was a Walgreens, complete with a vitamin vault. Walgreens moved out a couple of years ago, but in 2025, it's home to a Barnes & Noble. For some odd reason, only the exterior of the building is landmarked, meaning the interior is not protected whatsoever. Somebody should get on that. The Northwest Tower is one of the earliest skyscrapers built outside of downtown Chicago. It went up in 1929 during the height of the Jazz Age, when Damon Avenue was actually called Roby Street, hence the name of the hotel that now occupies the building. The Northwest Tower was marketed to doctors and attorneys who needed office space in the Wicker Park, Bucktown area. It's a stellar vision of Art Deco architecture that towers 203 feet above the historic Milwaukee Avenue district. The Damon CTA Blue Line Station is a historic and beautifully restored building. What would a Chicago neighborhood be without magnificent places to eat, drink, and chill? Here are just a few of my personal favorites. So today we're just grabbing a quick breakfast. This is a strudel, looks really good, along with a double espresso. Y'all know what it is. Gotta get that caffeine in the morning. Really flaky pastry. And like I said, I need a quick breakfast. Check that strudel out. Can we do a Logan Zaddy slice? Yeah, we'll do a vegan slice too. Thanks. Pauly G's was founded in 2010 in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Since then, they have opened 2 Chicago locations. I wonder why. Maybe it's because the Windy City is one of the best pizza cities on the entire planet. There's one in Logan Square, but we are at the Wicker Park location, the only one where you can get it by the slice. They have so many slices to choose from. To show some love to all the vegans and vegetarians out there, we got the vegan slice, spinach, onion, mushroom, and a vegan cheese. We also had to get their signature slice, the Logan Zaddy. This has bacon jam on it, which I don't think I've ever had, period, let alone on a slice of pizza. Pepperoni, the ricotta, the basil, hot honey to top it all off. It's getting cold, so I better try it now. Yeah, it's good. This is amazing. A lot of flavors going on here. Spicy pepperoni, hearty bacon jam, and the honey kicks it off with a nice sweet note of flavor. Also, the crust is nice and crispy. And normally I do fold my New York slices, but I didn't want to fold this one because I didn't want the ingredients to migrate. This is such a perfectly done piece of pizza. Truly a work of art. You can hang it on the wall behind me with that mural. It's that nice. I'm gonna go for another bite. They make these pizzas fresh right here. They also have a pickup windows right off the Blue Line in the heart of Wicker Park. So you can hop on the Blue Line, get off at Damon, come to Pauly G's, and get yourself a nice slice. The Logan Zaddy is what I recommend. Oh yeah. The bacon jam is like playful, but really savory. I love it. So I know hot honey on pizza is kind of a trend right now. This is my first time actually having it. I gotta say, I'm a huge fan of honey on pizza. We're gonna go to the historic Potbelly. Why is it historic? Because it's in a restored firehouse.
Wicker Park is one of the best neighborhoods for food and drink, and on that note, let's go get dinner.
We just wrapped up a beautiful dinner at Etta. It's right down the street from the Roby, essentially like a new Italian restaurant. We started off with a little gem salad and some focaccia bread and got some beef cheek pasta. Everything was incredible and the service was out of this world. We are on the second floor of the Roby in the lounge to get some drinks. This is a beautiful open space with couches, flat panel TVs, and a full bar. Now, what I really love about the lounge is it's open to everybody. You don't have to be a hotel guest. They even have a billiards table too. We got a couple of drinks off their brand new winter menu. This drink is called smoked apples. You got mezcal in here, apple cider, smoked cinnamon stick, and some cinnamon sugar on the brim. Cheers, guys. This is such a perfect cocktail for a night like tonight where it's a little windy and cold outside.
Look how beautiful this drink is. This has a snozzberry liqueur, egg whites, and rye.
We are now on the rooftop of the Roby where they have an amazing bar known as the Up Room. It would just be enough to have this rooftop with these amazing views, but the Roby has put together an amazing bar with some chill vibes. This is a perfect spot for first dates, anniversaries, celebrating hitting 1 million subscribers. It's a cold and blustery night, but we're not gonna let that stop us from enjoying this beautiful rooftop bar here at the Roby. Here's a drink off the Up Room's brand new menu. This is called Dusk Till Dawn. It's a gin-based drink. Tastes like eating a dessert sorbet. It is really, really good. More great restaurants in Wicker Park include Small Cheval, Big Star, Antique Taco, Sultan's Market, Peace Pizzeria and Brewery, Chengdu Bistro, Parlor Pizza Wicker Park, Emporium Arcade Bar, The Wormhole Coffee. Whether you live in Wicker Park or are just visiting, there is a mountain of things to do. We gotta start with the Bloomingdale Trail, aka the 606. It was once actually a railroad line. The Bloomingdale line was built in 1873 by the Chicago and Pacific Railroad Company. It was a 36-mile long track that ran from Halsted Street all the way out to Elgin. It later became part of the Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Paul, and Pacific Railway. This particular stretch of that former railway is just under 3 miles or 4.3 kilometers for our European friends. It's an elevated park, basically. It connects multiple neighborhoods like Wicker Park, Logan Square, Humboldt Park, and it's definitely one of the most unique parks in all of Chicago. Statistically speaking, it's the longest greenway project of a former railroad line in the entire Western Hemisphere. It's very similar to the High Line in New York City. Don't forget to check out the Wicker Park Fest, which takes place every July right in the heart of the neighborhood. There's food, shopping, and of course, concerts. To get your retro gaming on, head to Emporium Arcade Bar in Wicker Park. They also serve up craft beers, wines, and spirits. The Den Theater is when you want to watch some Shakespeare. Of course, we can't forget about the park itself, Wicker Park. Although it's not one of the biggest in the city, especially when you compare it to Humboldt Park, Jackson Park, Washington Park, Grant Park, Lincoln Park, it's still pretty cool. It's one of the only parks, if not the only one in the city, that's a perfect triangle. And during the warm months, don't forget to check out the Farmers Market, which takes place right near the fountain. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, there's some great shopping to be done in Wicker Park. Some of my favorite stores include Transit Tees, St. Alfred, Carhartt, and Yeti. Back in 2019, when I first launched this channel, I said that Wicker Park is a neighborhood that reminds me of like a neighborhood in Brooklyn. Today, having a little bit more experience and knowledge, I want to revise that slightly. Wicker Park is still one of the only Chicago neighborhoods that directly reminds me of a New York City neighborhood. I believe that you could pick Wicker Park up, put it in Brooklyn or Manhattan somewhere, and it would feel right at home. First of all, it's directly linked to downtown Chicago via the CTA Blue Line. That's a big deal. Bigger than you might think, especially since not everybody wants to own a car or even drive it around on a daily basis. This neighborhood is perfect for young professionals, young families, older folks, tourists, visitors, business people. Really, I can't find a single type of person that wouldn't enjoy Wicker Park to some degree. There are some beautiful homes, amazing, huge apartment buildings going up every single day. You've got great shopping, great dining. Now, of course, the transit would be just a little bit faster if it were underground the entire way. For example, when you get on at Damon, you'll be elevated. As you approach downtown Chicago, you'll go underground into the Milwaukee subway. Then you'll be able to go a little bit faster. I think transit is one of the things that Chicago is still trying to play catch up on. There are some amazing things to do in Wicker Park, not least of which the 606 Trail. Definitely the most unique and one of the coolest parks in all of the city. If you're visiting Chicago as a tourist and want to stay in Wicker Park, you're in luck. Check out the Roby Hotel. It's definitely a very unique hotel, super cool, has a cafe right in it, a rooftop bar overlooking the city. And of course, you're not gonna miss out staying in a neighborhood like Wicker Park because you can hop on the Blue Line and get right to downtown Chicago. So that's gonna make your trip really cool. Now, is this Chicago's coolest neighborhood? Well, it's definitely up there. You've got Wicker Park, Logan Square, Lincoln Park, Hyde Park, Chinatown. There are a few that are contenders. Wicker Park, I wouldn't say that without a doubt it's the coolest neighborhood in Chicago, but it's definitely up there. You've got great murals, street art, significant historic mansions that are beautiful to look at and take pictures of, get yourself some Instagram clout. Of course, you got the green space with the 606 and the Wicker Park. Great shopping, you can get your streetwear, you can get your hipster gear. You can definitely have some amazing pizza in Wicker Park. That's always part of a great neighborhood. If you're looking to live in Wicker Park, definitely check out some of the apartments. If you got a little bit more money, you can maybe buy one of the historic mansions in the Wicker Park Landmark District. Overall, it's definitely one of my favorite neighborhoods in all of Chicago. It's one that I come to time and time again, and it just has such a cool history and a great future. Did you get the answer to the trivia question? In 2001, MTV's The Real World filmed a season in Wicker Park, Chicago. They named that special season The Real World Chicago. If you made it this far in the video, you are a true legend. Make sure you pat yourself on the back, then finesse that like button and subscribe to the page for more Chicago content just like this. And I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.